I'm Lori Fleckett of Soltar Solutions, and I'm here today with Regina Barr on Focus Forward. Regina is an award-winning business owner. She's also the CEO and founder of Red Ladder and Women at the Top Network. And today we're going to be talking about the fine art of getting things done. We all need that. Regina, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Lori. Looking forward to our program today.
Well, it's good. Now, I want to find out, how can we be more productive? Everybody wants to know.
Well, you know what I always say, or the saying is, give something to a busy person, right? They always get things done, right? You know, for me, Lori, I know we've talked about this other times, and it's all about, I think, having a system for yourself. Mm-hmm. And you really have to learn how to use systems effectively, and also your resources effectively. So for me, I do have an executive assistant that I use, and it's not because I am, you know, spending inordinate amounts of money, but I have strategically hired someone to help me. And so what's really fascinating to me is a lot of times I work with women in corporate, right? And they have budgets that they have to work for, or to use to get their work done, and then they don't use the budget to help them actually get things done. So sometimes I say, you know, why don't you use your budget to hire a consultant to help you with that, or to hire an assistant? And you know, today with the access to things like virtual assistants, it doesn't matter if you're in corporate, if you're running a one-woman shop, there's a price range, an assistant out there who can help you with a wide variety of things. So one thing is find the tools that you work, and an assistant is a tool. The other thing is I tend to do some project planning type things. So I will use a project planner, if you will, where I'll have a project and I'll list out all the things that need to get done and when they need to get done and by whom. And I try to keep it as simple as possible, right? Because a lot of that is just about getting things down and understanding when they need to get done, because that will take a lot of pressure off you. I think a lot of times we get anxious and concerned and frustrated when we have all these things kind of moving around. And then the other thing is, once you start getting things down on a piece of paper, one of my tricks is do something, do anything, and get it done so you can start having a checklist on your list. So it just starts to give you that positive momentum, that positive action, and that kind of that feel good that, okay, I can do this. So those are a couple of things right there.
Well, this is great. I also think that people miss looking at things outside of their job. So they don't always, like I told you, redesign my closet. It's so easy getting dressed. I could see everything that I have. It's so easy. Getting ready for the show today, we're doing 3 different shows, so that's 3 different outfits, 3 different jewelry, the whole thing. And it took me probably 10 minutes. Whereas before it would have taken me a few hours to get this, get that, get the other. But everything is right out there. And that would really be so valuable for, especially for women, so they're not running around looking for things. So I think that that's really important. Another thing that you mentioned, which I really like, is do something after you get your list made. I think that is really important. I think people have a tendency to put things off. I think most of the time, productivity problems are really about putting things off.
Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you another little secret, Lori. So I have something that I call the hustle factor. And sometimes people will think I'm a little bit insane, but a lot of times I refer to myself as like the Seabiscuit competitor, because I'm kind of running my own race. But then when I see someone next to me, all of a sudden I really kick in. So a couple things that I do. Number one, I actually have a kitchen timer in my office, and sometimes I have a discrete amount of time to get something done. I will actually set the timer, and then I play beat the clock. And I know it sounds insane, but that works for me. So what I'm just saying to people is find little tools and tricks that help to motivate you. For me, that creates an artificial sense and urgency to get something done, and I can get a lot done in a short amount of time. The second thing is, I find that a lot of people fritter away small amounts of time. So for example, let's say it's 4:45, and you're gonna close up shop at 5 o'clock. Or your normal winding down time is 5 o'clock. A lot of people won't start something or do something because they feel like it's not enough time. And I always push myself to say, what's one more thing I can get done? And the reason that I say that is when I was young, my mom, who's very shy, used to sell door to door. And so this one day she was out for hours on end and hadn't made a sale. And it was a very cold and wintry day. And so she told me, she came to this bridge, and it was Deer Park Avenue in New York, so anybody who might know that location. And she was debating whether to go over the bridge or not, or to go back home. And she walked, and she had 2 miles to get home. She decided to go across the bridge, went to a house. She not only made a sale, she made the largest sale that she had ever made, and she won an award. That's how large the sale was, because she used what I call the hustle factor. Instead of, closing up shop with that last 15 minutes, she decided to use that 15 minutes to her advantage. So, 15 minutes, what can you do? Maybe you can research something. Maybe you can do a quick email. Maybe you can return a phone call. The hustle factor is a big key. If you did a little bit of hustle factor every day, you would really push yourself forward and your projects forward and your initiatives forward. So a couple little tips there.
Well, that's great. That's really great. And I use that a lot. I'm like, what do I need to get done? It's like, what do I need to get done? But what's going to make me happy being done? Mm-hmm. That's another thing. I wrote a series last night, and I don't write at night usually, but that made me so happy getting that done. So it's really about what's those things that are really going to make a difference.
And to your point, half the battle is sometimes getting started. So even though you don't like to write at night, sometimes just getting started kind of re-energizes you. You start to feel good, and then you can keep going until you get it done. The other thing is sometimes you mentioned that it was a series, right? And so we get overwhelmed because we think, oh my God, I need 3 hours or I need 5 hours, and we make it so big. We do this with exercise too. So what I try to tell people is kind of break it down. So sometimes if I have to write something, I'll just start with the title or a couple of key points, just to say, okay, and I give myself permission just to get that done, so that if I just do that, then I've accomplished my goal. But a lot of times once I do that, I want to do more. And the reason I mentioned exercise is how often you hear this, I don't have time to exercise. Well, if you're waiting for an hour or 2 hours to find time to exercise, you will never exercise. What I do is I try to find 10 minutes. And so right now, I'm doing a lot of work at a remote location, and I do a lot of work on the 5th floor, but a lot of my meetings are in the basement. And there's actually 5 floors, a ground level and a basement. I try to twice a day, walk down, and then walk up, and then walk down and walk up. And when I do that, I get usually probably about 30 floors in on my Fitbit. So again, it's break it down, make it manageable, and you will be able to get more done.
I think the tools are excellent, like the Fitbit right there. You're just wearing something, but it's tracking for you. I think most people, one of the issues is they don't have any tracking systems at all. And it's also a sense of urgency, which is another thing that's really important. Okay, it's 4:45. I want to quit at 5. What can I get done? The sense of urgency. You can get so much done with the sense of urgency. Our friend Dan Kennedy, you know what he says? He says, if you really want to get things done, imagine that you're leaving town that day and you got to get everything finished. And he said the whole day you just keep motoring through things. And then at the end of that day, he says the desk is cleaned off. So that's another thing. So before we go, I just want to reiterate 3 tips that people can use right now to be more productive.
Plan your day, break it down, and hustle.
That's great. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm Lori Flaquette of Saltar Solutions, here with Regina Barr, and I'd like you to subscribe, comment, and also like the show. We want to hear what you're thinking. Thanks so much and have a great day.